Greek Life provides a way in which students can recall their college experience fondly.
Greek Life is very aware of our negative history, but we continue to work harder and harder every day to make sure that we put the best image out there and be the best versions of ourselves.
To ensure the safety of our sisters, I work really closely with our Vice President of Standards. We have drug, alcohol, and hazing policies in place. We also work with Campus Alcohol, Drug, and Education Center.
Chico in general has a big culture of large events are a high risk time at Chico State, like Labor Day weekend or Halloween weekend and Cesar Chavez weekend. For our unrecognized organizations, I don't have any oversight over their policies and procedures, and so I don't do any type of risk management training with their chapters and do not necessarily even have contacts in their chapters.
It is a privilege to attend the university, and it's a privilege to be recognized as an official organization by the university. So when both of those privileges are recognized by the organization, the chances are the relationship is going to be positive. But those organizations that are not recognized, although it is still a privilege for those students to attend the university, and therefore they fall within the codes of student conduct, which everybody is subject to. They do have a certain arm's length separation from the university in that they are not an organization per se that is recognized. And some groups will decide that they want to be independent as opposed to recognized, and they, in many respects, gamble that they can get away with certain kinds of behaviors because they are unrecognized.
Basically, like, the university can't ensure your safety when someone gets hurt at an event of an unaffiliated fraternity. What it means to not associate with an unaffiliated fraternity is to not go to their t-shirt dances, formal social events, and most importantly, not being a part of their sweetheart competition. When you're associating with someone and you're associating with an unaffiliated fraternity, you're assuming the risk of everything that fraternity is doing. So when something bad happens, your chapter is saying, well, I guess we're also doing all of the things that they're doing.
Yeah, I think when they go rogue, when they've lost their charter and they're not recognized, there's a better chance of them to get in trouble because nobody's paying attention to them. You know, when you are recognized by the school, then the school can do drop-bys and just walk in. And I was just speaking to someone at Chico State a couple of months ago, and she had told me a story about how she just walked into one of the fraternities and went down into the basement. And this was weird because it was during the day, and most of the time they don't do it during the day. But she said they had them stripped down to their underwear, and they were doing some kind of weird things to them, and I was like, holy crap. So, yeah, but when they're not recognized, you can't just walk in and do that. So now you've got free reign.
There was a lot of alcohol and drug use in our community and on our campus. ADAC works pretty actively with fraternities and sororities. They do a program called Wildcat Roar, which is a prevention program, and we really strongly emphasize bystander intervention techniques and laws and encouraging students to, if they see something, say something. And we talk about alcohol poisoning. It's required for all new members who join a sorority, and it is the choice of the fraternities whether they have us. But we do speak to many of them.
We love partnering with KDIC. So they're a fantastic department on campus. We partner with them as often as we can. And so KDIC attends every new member orientation that we have, and they talk about high-risk drinking, how to help a friend, any of the other workshops that they may be offering at the time. They also really frequently come to our fraternity and sorority training, which is our largest conference in the fall semester, and a third of every chapter attends that conference.
In 2005, Matthew Carrington died in the basement of a fraternity house from a hazing activity, and it was actually a water overdose where they were making him drink gallons of water and exercise at the same time until he passed out and died, and they did not call for help. Since 2005, when the fraternities and sororities were under a lot of pressure to change their behavior and their how they institute new members, how they have new members join their groups.
In the first year that I was on campus as the university's president, 3 students died. And there were, in addition to that, there were instances of violence against women. There was a riot at Fifth and Ivy that some Greeks were involved in that. It had gotten to the point where I felt that I needed to make a public statement, both to the university as well as to the community. And this was my "Have you read your charters?" moment. And it was a Sunday afternoon. I think we had about 1,100 people in the BMU, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was the only speaker. And I basically said, you know, I really only got one question for you. Have you read your charters? Have you read all that stuff about responsibility and citizenship and brotherhood, sisterhood, and community service and civic engagement? And I said, I have. North Carolina Lambda, Belmont Abbey College, Sigma Phi Epsilon. I joined a fraternity because I believed in it, and I found in that fraternity a place where a lot of my own values were reflected and reinforced, you know, by the fraternity. So what you need to do today, go home and read your charters, and you decide whether you are who you say you are or if you're not. And so here's the bottom line. If you are who you say you are, and you're committed to those values and that identity, we are going to get along great. And your university is going to support you, and the community will support you. But if you're not, you're a bunch of frauds, and you don't belong here.
Because of hazing activities, KDIC became very important to them as a tool to help them regain recognition by the university again. It was an unrecognized fraternity, but nevertheless, it happened here at Chico, and it made a big impact with the administration. And so there was a ban on all Greek activities in 2005.
When I got to Chico, when we heard that something bad had happened to him, and found out on the way that he didn't make it. And I had already talked to my sister and said, we're heading out there. I said, I don't think he's going to make it. From what I was getting, I had so many alarms going off with what was happening. And I said, I just don't think he's going to make it. I don't know if we're going to make it in time. My one sister, she just called everybody, and she got President Zing on the phone, and she goes, Debbie, this is the president of the school, and you need to talk to him. And he said, Debbie, it stops here. This will not happen here again. We will make changes. This is the last one. And so he was there to make change. And when they killed Matt, it was just, I mean, he was devastated. And so he said, we are going to make changes. And they did. I mean, they put together a task force. They changed the whole way that Greek life was, and he'll tell you about that, everything that they did. But they helped us getting Matt's Law. They backed us when we were going through the criminal case. They did letter writing campaigns for us.
You know, people never expected, you know, that. Or they expected more. They expected I was going to shut the whole thing down right then and there. But I said, you know, I really want to believe that you want to be who you say you are. So we're going to test it and see if that's the case. And things got better for a while, even for a couple of years, I thought. And then there was the second set of incidents that involved a fraternity going into the pornography business, a student dying, a guest of a fraternity drowning, you know, on the river during the Labor Day float, and several other incidents. Now this was several years later. So I had round two.
So I think like we definitely, you know, like we do all have our morals and like our points and our values that we try to, you know, uphold and live by. And I think even though sometimes, you know, like you were saying, like, you know, people get pushed and those things happen, and like I guess like we are like victims of that. I think, you know, like nobody's perfect, and so while we all try and like strive to like reach those morals and uphold those values, that, you know, like nobody's perfect, and so while things like sometimes things, I guess, get like pushed, like you're saying.
Again, things aren't perfect, and I just read the other day about some, you know, incident up at the campus involving a fraternity. But, you know, I don't know what the definition of perfect is. You just keep trying to make things safe and sane. And you constantly keep the constituents and the stakeholders and the responsible parties in dialogue, you know, with one another. And if it's a team event, if it's a community event, that's the only way it's going to be a successful, you know, effort.
I think a lot of it has to do with money. You know, I mean, the schools need money, and so when this stuff gets out, the dollars stop coming. And until we can get the universities to actually, you know, realize that these lives are more important than money, because if we can put a program in place, I would imagine that people would give good money to have good programs that are saving our children's lives. But they have to be able to see that too. They're not only big donors, but they come back during Hell Week and actually haze the student, the pledges. Yeah. There was a night that Matt didn't make it to. That was the night where they come back. Yeah. How scary is that? Because when your fathers or adults are saying it's okay because they come back and do it, how do they learn not, you know, that it's wrong to do? How can we teach them when you've got grown men, or I don't know about sororities, but I know that the fraternities do. Yeah. Scary.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Certainly universities are hope that their alumni are happy for a number of reasons, and happy alumni can often be generous alumni. And the Greek organizations can also facilitate for students ways in which they become more visible at their campuses through particular causes, whatever they may be, or service to the university. And I think campuses believe that if students are engaged in a positive way with that campus, they tend to want to stay involved with their alma mater, even when they move on.
There are many times where maybe in the Orion or the ER or just on campus through conversation, people may hear of negative things that happen in the community. And that's the same as our Chico State population. There are things happening on our campus that, you know, our student affairs professionals and our faculty and our administration do not necessarily condone or support. And again, that's where we have measures in place as a university to intervene and make sure our students are supported and safe.
Personally, for me, I've never been a big fan of the fraternity/sorority scene. It seems just like a bunch of people paying for their friends and, you know, paying to do their brother's chores and stuff. And for me personally, I'd like to just, you know, do what I want and not what a higher people group wants. And, you know, it's just, I mean, whatever. I'm not particularly against it. It's everyone's having fun. If that's for you, go for it. But for me, I'd rather not.
Freshman pledges who decided to tell her that because he could not fuck any of the 4 people that we were walking into, we were not allowed admission into her party, into his party, which is absolutely ridiculous. And quite frankly, Chico State, you need to do better at monitoring what's going on here.
Come on, get in the picture. It's not where we're at. Oh, it's good. Hey, yes, sir.
Every party that we've went to here for the past 2 or 3 days, I've not experienced as much fucking misogynistic bullshit as I have seen in my entire life. These girls are not safe. Me as a guy, I'm not safe. Please put something into your admissions that you can regulate this, because it's unacceptable at its core. I don't know what else to tell you.
The thing with them is that you've got this accent on, here's the fraternities with the men, here's the sororities with the females. And there's that mentality of what it is to be masculine and what it is to be feminine. And they get to the point where there's that hyper-masculinity and that hyper-femininity and this, you know, very blind heteronormativity.
I see every girl from every sorority at our party, so if that means anything. But no, either way, I don't think we're excluded by any means. I think we have a great relationship with every single fraternity and sorority on campus, not on campus. I think we have a good reputation all the way around.
As a Greek community, we do try, chapters even work on this also, as not being so exclusive and really being inclusive to our Chico State community. And so that is why we try to be involved in as many different avenues as we possibly can. And so there are Chico State students who have jobs in a variety of different locations on campus, who are involved in other clubs on campus, athletics. And so I think that our Greek community does a really good job of getting out there and being exposed to other things beyond just their Greek experience.
The Watermelon Bus, it's like our fraternity, Lambda Chi Alpha, is like, it's like our annual philanthropy event that we do. And this one is one of the biggest at Chico State. Almost every chapter does the Watermelon Bus of Lambda Chi Alpha throughout the country. And our philanthropy is Feeding America Foundation. So it's like a big canned food drive. So all the sororities like raise canned food and all that. And then ironically we have watermelon and we just like kind of smash a bunch of them, incorporate different events like the watermelon eating contest and stuff like that.
Chapters and our Greek community in general have values that we stand for, or values that we strive to uphold. And so philanthropy, scholarship, community service, all of these things that really separate the Greek community from maybe other organizations on campus. And so not everybody goes through recruitment and joins a chapter because they love philanthropy. Not everyone values scholarship, and that's just the reality, but those are the values that we try to get our members to uphold and try to get our community to value, really.
Well, I think there's a lot of positive changes that have happened with the recognized organizations. We still have a lot of rogue fraternity. They do not wish to follow the rules of the university, and so they still have houses and they still have chapters, but they don't follow the rules of the university. Those fraternities and sororities I see as our biggest problem in our Greek community.